But again, I just made an argument for the naysayers on that. It's like you're basically taking teams that are Citrus Bowl worthy and putting them in a national title hunt. So, okay, next up. Appreciate that, Jay. There's an argument here. They said this about the 4-team playoff. Does it detract from the regular season? I don't think it did with the 4-team playoff at all, in my opinion. I actually think it even, but I mean, it did detract maybe from the conference title games a little bit, a little, not a lot. I mean, everybody still loves winning their conference. I don't think that's ever going to change. But is it possible? Maybe it detracts from the teams at that elite tier 1 level a little bit, or does it make it better for teams like, let's say, I use this example in my head. I don't know why, the Florida Gators. Or if you want to go to the Big Ten, maybe a Penn State, maybe you lose 1 or 2 games, you're still in the hunt for that playoff to play for a national title. But then a lot of people would argue maybe a team that lost 2 games doesn't deserve a chance to play at a title for a title game. I mean, there's an argument to be made for that. I'm not going to dismiss that entirely because I do understand, especially when you think of a team like Penn State doesn't traditionally, at least not in the last 30 years, play for national titles anyway. But they did win a Big Ten title, and so they are able to do it. So, Jay, let me ask you something. When you're at that, say you lose 2 early games, you're just trying to get your feet wet, and all of a sudden your team gets better, and you are a juggernaut by the end of the season. But you can't play for a title game because you're definitely guaranteed to not even Colin Cowherd, I don't really care for him, but he said something pretty smart, in my opinion, when he says your teams are allowed to get better. So what if that team, by the end of the season, oh, my gosh, nobody wants to play them. They're really good. What's your feelings on that?
So you mentioned a thought there. They lose early. Mm-hmm. At the end of the season, they start middle of the season, start to find their groove. Into the regular season, nobody wants to play them. Wasn't that what happened to Ohio State in the 2013-2014 national championship game? Or that season, you end up losing early. I think it was week 2? Mm-hmm. And then you got better. I think the first ranking that the college football playoff put out, Ohio State was 16th, went on the arm and phenomenal play from Cardale Jones and others, Ezekiel Elliott, winning the national championship game. Wisconsin, Big Ten championship game. And then you had Alabama, whatever bowl it was, and then Oregon.
Bowl. Yep.
So that's a thought that is going to be there. That's expected. It happens every year. Corey, it's not like we get a undefeated national champion every single season. Yes, we've got it more under the playoff format because recruiting itself has been more top-heavy. Only team that really recruits very well that has not won a national championship lately is Georgia, which still to me, I think it's more coaching, not personnel. I'm surprised Kirby Smart's still coaching there. I think that he's a coach that should be really on the hot seat. But when you think about, Bill Hancock, I keep getting all these thoughts mixed up. Bill Hancock made a comment and said, this is going to make more games important in November. Sir, you can do that without adding more teams to the playoff. Little rant here, Corey. Every single season, SEC, ACC, they play at an FCS school, lower level school, and a lot of them play that right before their big time rival, Alabama, the Iron Bowl. Right before that, they played an FCS school, and I think it was RJ Jones, or the guy that works for Fox Sports. I forget his last name. He's on Twitter, number one show, whatever. But he made a comment about how
RJ
Young, that's it. Mm-hmm. He made a comment about how Alabama has played so many FCS schools since 2009. They played one school X amount of times. That's scheduling. Mm-hmm. So if you want to boost play in November, remember it's college football. These kids still want to win. They still want to play. They still want to show out and then have a chance to play in the NFL someday. SEC, ACC, fix your schedules. The FCS stuff, no matter when you're playing them, it's idiotic. It's stupid. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. So you can do that. This does not boost anything in November. If anything, Corey, and I mentioned this on Twitter. I replied to you about something. You may find players that sit out in November, game 11, game 12, before the conference championship game, because it's like, well, I want to play for this game, but let's just say that they're a top 12 team. They have 2 easy games at the end of the season. Oh, I'm a starting left tackle. Why should I play? I want to rest my body for the playoff. I get a home game, still going to play in front of my home fans once again. Why should I do that? And I think you're going to find teams possibly because of the climate of the NFL and college football resting players. I don't think this boosts anything regular season-wise. Does it make it better? Maybe. But it's college football. you're still going to have that intrigue. And I'm going to go to the most recent rankings at the end of the season. This comes at the end of the regular season. Conference championship games are played. But if you're trying to tell me in November, Coastal Carolina was not going to try hard, you're crazy. North Carolina, Northwestern, Iowa, BYU, USC, Miami, Louisiana, Texas. These are all teams between 12 to 20 at the end of the last rankings. You're insane, because Northwestern is not only trying to get better, they're trying to show that they can have a chance to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Texas is trying to play in the best bowl game they can. Coastal Carolina is trying to go undefeated. So if you're trying to tell me this is trying to boost the appeal and what the product is in November, this is idiotic. And I think it just shows how out of tune you are with the sport. Yeah, November, it may be a little lax at times, but these kids are still trying to play. They're still trying to win. And I don't think this is trying to really make it, I don't think it makes the month of November, as Bill Hancock thinks it does, makes it better at all. Sorry, I know it's a little long, but this stuff kind of irks me, man.
No, you're good, man. I hear you, man. I agree with you. I don't know if it gives them more incentive to. I mean, I don't know. I look at the college football playoff, and it's actually, I won't say negated the bowl, let's say prestige a little bit. But if they're getting better, I mean, granted, you're right. Teams aren't in November like, let's just lay down. Who cares what bowl game we get? I mean, you're right. They do want to.
College basketball, they do that. That's like the culture. Like basketball players sometimes do that. But then you think about that, Ohio State last year in February, March, they're trying to still get in their groove and prove they're one of the top 4 teams in the country in a sport where top 4 doesn't hold the weight that it does in college football. So I don't know what I kind of see. I can see where he's coming from. I just think that there's not enough data to prove or to make that statement really valid and make sense.
No, that's fair. And I would add that I would say that but where I was going with that was the playoff, being able to say, look, I'm in that 12 team rotation or whatever, I can play for a national title now. I mean, I think that would be even more incentive than like what the playing in the Citrus Bowl or whatever they're going to be playing at that. So, but again, I just made an argument for the naysayers on that. It's like you're basically taking teams that are Citrus Bowl worthy and putting them in the national title hunt. So. It goes both ways. It really comes down to a lot of preference. But moving on to the next point here, this is one I really wanted to get to big time. No doubt about the best 2 to 14. See, that's what the top 4 for me was frustrating. Not that it was imperfect, because a lot of times there was no doubt in the year. Let's be real. I mean, I can be real about that. But there has been years where it's like, nah, that 5th or 6th, the first year, in fact, when you had Baylor and TCU, who were really good and got left out. Now that's the fault of their own conference. They screwed up on that, but they deserved it. I felt like they deserved a shot at it at least, because they were really good that year. And that's just an example, but that's been one of the years where you're saying there's good 6 teams that could compete for a title. And Ohio State vindicated the playoffs completely that first year, completely vindicated the idea of the playoff. So my issue is you're going to find the best 2 to 4 teams for sure with this format. But I think you could have done that at 8. I don't think you need 12 to do that. So can you say we're overdoing it to get to that point?
Absolutely. And Corey, I did a little digging. Did some writing down of some different notes and different rankings of the past few years, actually every year of the playoff. Mm-hmm. And I think you are overdoing it, because if you look at that very first year, Alabama won, Oregon 2, Florida State 3, coming off a national championship win the previous year, Ohio State 4, Baylor 5, TCU 6, Mississippi State 7, Michigan State 8. I don't think anybody that year or even now would have said that 7 or 8 would have been in the running or should be in that exclusive group that has a chance to win the national championship. But if you go a little bit further, Ole Miss 9, Arizona 10 at 10-3, Kansas State 9-3, Georgia Tech 10-3, and Boise State 11-2. Now, Boise State was a number 20 team, but you got to add a group of 5 team in, had to put them in here. I don't think anybody at all says anybody outside of that top 6, as you mentioned with TCU, Baylor 5, TCU 6, deserves or should be in the running to have a chance to win. 8, you can compromise because you can, okay, cool. You can make that work very, very easily. I think when you go to 12, it's more the inclusion versus exclusivity of trying to find that group to really say, yes, this is an exclusive group that has a chance to win a national championship. There's somebody that may say, Jay, well, the NCAA, they have a 68 team tournament. I don't think that they need a 68 team tournament to figure out who the national champion is. You say, Jay, UCLA was just in the first four and they made it to the Final Four. Great. Once again, I don't think they need a 68 team tournament to figure out who the national champion is. Because like last year and every year previously, you don't need a 68 team field to figure out who the best team in college basketball is at all. In a 12 team field, I think it is doing it too much. It's overboard. It's overkill. You're trying to appease everybody and include the group of five, when in most years, if the group of five players are the top four teams in the country, they're getting destroyed. I don't care if you have an undefeated UCF. Cincinnati actually held their own against Georgia, which really I was impressed with last year. But I don't care if you have a Utah. I don't care if you have a Cincinnati Coastal. I don't care who you have. Most of those schools, if they're playing the power of the powers in college football, they can't stay on the field with them. And they know that. So you're trying to appease everybody, make sure everybody's happy. And that's one thing in college football. You try to please everyone, and then all of a sudden somebody's not happy, and you're trying to find a way to find a bandaid to cover the mess. And you never truly do that, because 5 years down the road, the bandaid starts to come off and exposes more problems with what you tried to do to cover up the problems previously.